Hello, and welcome to this audiobook summary of How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis. I'm your narrator, here to take you on a journey through the mind of a man who went from a penniless hippie dropout to a multimillionaire entrepreneur and then decided to share his hard-earned wisdom with the world. Felix Dennis isn't your typical self-help guru. He's not here to sell you a dream with a flashy smile or a promise of overnight success. No, Felix is a straight-talking, poetry-loving, wine-sipping maverick who built his fortune the hard way, through grit, mistakes, and a relentless drive to prove something to himself and the world. This book isn't about shortcuts or feel-good mantras. It's a raw, unfiltered guide to getting rich, told by someone who's been there, done that, and has the scars and the private jets to prove it. So, grab a cup of coffee, or maybe a glass of Château if you're feeling fancy, and let's dive into Felix Dennis's world of wealth, wisdom, and warnings. Felix Dennis starts us off in a writer's cottage on the island of Mustique, sipping fine wine and gazing out at a turquoise sea. It's March 2006, and he's reflecting on a life that's taken him from poverty to a net worth somewhere between $400 million and $900 million. He's the founder of Maxim magazine, a publishing mogul, and a self-proclaimed insignificant little worm who's somehow cracked the code to riches. But here's the kicker. Felix isn't writing this book to get richer himself. He's already there. He's writing it because he believes anyone with enough guts and determination can do what he did. And he's not shy about admitting that getting rich isn't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a brutal, exhilarating, and sometimes soul-crushing ride. So, let's break it down, chapter by chapter, and see what Felix has to teach us about chasing that elusive pot of gold. We begin with the preface, where Felix sets the tone. He's sipping that Château, nibbling on smoked conch, and asking a simple question. Can this book really make you rich? His answer? Maybe, if you've got the motivation and the stomach for it. Felix isn't promising miracles. He's not a ghostwriter-driven con artist or a late-night infomercial huckster. He's just a guy who started with nothing, no college degree, no inheritance, no capital, and clawed his way up. He's here to tell you how he did it, what he screwed up along the way, and how you might avoid the same pitfalls. Oh, and he throws in a cheeky bonus. Getting rich might just improve your sex life. Money is power, he says, and power is an aphrodisiac. But happiness? That's another story, one he'll come back to later. Next up is the introduction, titled How Rich? Here, Felix gets practical. He's not talking Bill Gates-level wealth. Billions are out of reach for most of us, he argues, unless you've got some rare genius or a duke's inheritance. No, Felix is aiming for what he calls common or garden rich. Think $30 million to $80 million in total assets. Enough to buy fancy cars, a yacht if you're reckless, and the freedom to tell bank managers where to shove it. He lays out two tables to define wealth. One for cash in hand, quickly realizable assets, and one for total net worth. For cash in hand, $30 million to $70 million makes you the rich. For total assets, $30 million to $80 million is the lesser rich, creeping toward the comfortably rich. It's a sliding scale, adjusted for taxes and the chaos of liquidating assets. But here's the twist. Felix warns that riches don't guarantee happiness. I've told countless friends this, he says, and they never believe me until they get there. Money buys time and options, sure, but it also brings stress, guilt, and a horde of vultures disguised as advisors. Still, you didn't pick up this book for happiness, did you? You're here to get rich. So let's move on. Part 1. Reasons not to get rich. Now, don't let the title fool you. This isn't Felix telling you to give up and stay poor. No, it's more like a gauntlet thrown down, a challenge to see if you've got the spine to push past the excuses and the odds. Felix kicks off this section with a wink and a warning. Getting rich isn't for everyone, and he's about to show you why most people never even start. So, let's strap in and explore these two chapters, pole positions and $1 million to 1, with some gritty examples straight from Felix's wild ride and a few others for good measure. First up, Chapter 1, Pole Positions. Felix starts by quoting the poet Charles Baudelaire. No task is a long one, but the task on which one dare not start. It becomes a nightmare. And isn't that the truth? He's talking about the starting line, where most folks stall out before the race even begins. Felix breaks it down into three groups who've got their own reasons or excuses for not chasing wealth. Let's unpack them one by one with some real-world flavor. If you're young, penniless, and inexperienced, Felix says you're in the catbird seat. Sounds crazy, right? But hear him out. You've got no baggage, no mortgage, no cushy job to lose, just raw energy and a devil-may-care attitude. Felix was there once, a hippie dropout in the late 60s, living in a crummy room with no money for rent, no clue what to do next. He didn't have capital or a fancy degree, but he had stamina, enough to work 16-hour days and party all night. Example? Take his first big win, those poster magazines he launched in the 70s. 8-page, full-color foldouts with headlines on the back, priced like regular magazines with 10 times the pages. Everyone said it wouldn't sell, too weird, too cheap. Felix didn't know it couldn't be done, so he did it anyway. Sold millions worldwide. Compare that to, say, Mark Zuckerberg, another young, broke kid who started Facebook in a dorm room with no cash, just hustle and a knack for tech. Felix's point? When you've got nothing to lose, you're free to take wild swings, and sometimes you hit a home run. Next, the slightly better off and on the way up. These are folks with a decent job, maybe a promotion on the horizon, who see a niche but freeze. Why? Fear of losing what they've already built. Felix sees this daily in his own companies, smart employees who'd rather pad his pockets than risk their own. He gives us a personal example. When he launched personal computing magazines in the 80s, British retailers laughed him off. Nobody will buy them, they said. He was in this on the way up phase, had some cash flow, some cred, but risking it all on a hunch scared the pants off his peers. Felix went for it anyway, and those titles earned him tens of millions. Contrast that with a guy he mentions later, a rival's managing director who hesitated on a magazine deal to take a vacation. Felix swooped in, snatched it, and turned it into a $100 million cash cow. The lesson? Comfort's a trap. You've got leverage, use it, or someone else will. Then there's the senior managers or professionals, folks with a mortgage, kids, a corner office. Felix is surprised they'd even pick up his book. Their excuse? Risking the family's security. He's skeptical. Take his own story. He knew a relative, a blowhard with entrepreneurial flair, who blamed his kids for staying poor. If only I didn't have responsibilities, the guy whined, claiming he could have changed the world. Felix played him a Louis Jordan song. If you're so smart, how come you ain't rich? And called bullshit. Kids don't care about money, Felix argues. They want love. He grew up dirt poor in a coal-heated house with newspaper for toilet paper, then middle class, with a bike and a lawn. Was he happy or rich? Nope. The real example here is someone like J.K. Rowling, single mom, scraping by, who wrote Harry Potter on napkins. She had kids and made millions. Felix says it's not the kids stopping you, it's you hiding behind them. Felix wraps this chapter with a gut punch. Money doesn't care about your age, race, or excuses. It's neutral. He cites his own rise, poor, uneducated, no connections, and says if he did it, so can you. Think of Oprah Winfrey, born into poverty, abused, no silver spoon, yet she built a billion-dollar empire. The reasons not to start? They're just fear in disguise. Felix envies the young for their fearlessness, nudges the comfortable to leap, and dares the secure to ditch the alibis. Now, Chapter 2. 1,000,000 to 1. This is Felix getting real about the odds. Getting rich isn't a coin toss. It's 1,000,000 to 1 shot, and he wants you to know it up front. Most people fail, not from lack of smarts, but because they can't handle the grind or the gut-wrenching setbacks. Felix shares a doozy from his past, a kung fu magazine he poured cash into, convinced it'd be a hit. It flopped hard, nearly sank him. He only survived by scrambling to his next hustle. Luck played a role, sure, like when he stumbled into personal computing before it boomed, but persistence was the glue. He contrasts this with a near miss, a rival who could have bought that golden magazine but dawdled. Felix pounced, and it became his first huge pile. For another example, think of Steve Jobs. Fired from Apple, his own company, he could have quit. Instead, he started Pixar, struck gold with Toy Story, and came back to Apple richer than ever. Felix's point? The odds are brutal, but winners keep swinging. He admits his own failures, like a TV venture that bled money, taught him more than his wins. It's a sobering chapter, a filter to weed out the weak. If you're still here, Felix seems to say, you might just have the stomach for this. So what's part 1 really about? It's Felix holding up a mirror. The reasons not to get rich aren't reasons. They're excuses born of fear, inertia, or delusion. The young have no chains. The climbing fear loss. The settled cling to stability. And the odds? They're stacked against you always. But Felix, penniless kid turned publishing titan, proves it's not impossible. Examples like Zuckerberg, Rowling, and Jobs back him up. It's not where you start, but whether you start. This section's a dare. Stare down the nightmare, step over the line, and run like hell. Ready? Let's keep going. Part 2, getting started, is where Felix stops warning and starts showing you how to kick things off. These 6 chapters, chapters 3 through 8, are your toolbox for launching the wealth chase. Felix isn't handing you a silver platter. He's tossing you a shovel and pointing at the dirt. Let's dig in with some real-world examples to light the way, straight from Felix's wild life and a few others who've climbed the same mountain. We kick off with Chapter 3, Harnessing the Fear of Failure. Felix calls fear the little death, death by 1,000 cuts, but he's not here to coddle you through it. He wants you to grab it by the throat and make it work for you. Fear of failure almost stopped him cold when he launched his first big magazine deal, negotiating with a founder who could have walked away. Felix was terrified of blowing it, but he turned that dread into adrenaline, stayed sharp, and sealed the deal. It became a cornerstone of his empire. Think of Elon Musk. When Tesla was teetering in 2008, he faced bankruptcy and humiliation. Fear drove him to pour his last dollars in and work like a madman. Result? Tesla's a giant today. Felix's trick? Laugh with fear, he says. Face it down for one day. Ignore the what-ifs, and watch how it transforms you into a predator, not prey. Chapter 4, The Search, is about picking your battlefield. Felix says don't chase trends. Find the mountain that's got your name on it, the one you're drawn to. He loved magazines, not tech, but his arcade game obsession led him to personal computing mags in the 80s. Retailers scoffed, nobody'll buy him, but Felix's gut said otherwise. Tens of millions later, he was right. Look at Sarah Blakely. She loved selling but hated pantyhose seams. That pull led her to invent Spanx with $5,000 and a hunch. No trend chasing, just a mountain she knew. Felix warns, don't force it if you hate it, you'll burn out. Find your groove, and the money follows. Chapter 5, The Fallacy of the Great Idea, is Felix debunking a myth. Ideas? We've had him since Eve deceived Adam, he quips. Execution's the key. His Spider-Man webgun idea? Cool, but it went nowhere. His poster magazines? A quirky concept. 8 pages, full color, cheap, but he nailed the execution, selling millions. Contrast that with Steve Wozniak and the Apple I. Great idea, sure, but it was Steve Jobs' relentless execution that turned it into a billion-dollar empire. Felix's advice. Stop waiting for lightning to strike. Get busy with what's in front of you. Perfect execution beats a perfect idea every time. Chapter 6, Obtaining Capital, gets practical and a little shady. Felix started with zilch, so he begged and bluffed. He once convinced a printer to front him paper on credit for a magazine run, promising sales that weren't guaranteed. It worked. He paid the guy back and pocketed the profit. Another time, he borrowed from friends, trading on trust. Think of Jeff Bezos. Amazon began with $250,000 from his parents, no bank loans, just personal stakes. Felix says, don't expect banks to care without collateral. Pester investors, barter, hustle. Capital's out there if you're scrappy enough to grab it. Chapter 7, Never Give In, is Felix's war cry. Stubbornness saved him when Maxim hit the U.S. market. Rivals mocked it, advertisers hesitated, but he refused to fold. Years later, it was the world's top men's lifestyle mag. He recalls a rival who gave up on a deal over a vacation. Felix swooped in, and that magazine made him $100 million. Look at Walt Disney. Bankrupt once, laughed at for Mickey Mouse, but he never quit. Now it's an empire. Felix's mantra? Boldness has genius. Dig in your heels and outlast the doubters. Chapter 8, The 5 Most Common Startup Errors, is Felix's cautionary tale. He lists traps like overexpansion, pushing too fast, like his failed TV venture that bled cash, and trusting the wrong people. Take Ian F., a crooked accountant who siphoned off tens of thousands before a deputy caught him on vacation. Felix lost big because he didn't watch close enough. Another error? Ignoring focus. He once spread thin on a kung fu mag that tanked. Compare that to Netflix. Reed Hastings dodged overexpansion early, sticking to DVDs before streaming big. Felix's fix? Stay lean, trust sparingly, and learn from the wreckage. So what's part 2 packing? It's Felix's blueprint for starting the wealth hunt. Harness fear like Musk did, turn it into rocket fuel. Search for your mountain like Blakely, not someone else's. Forget the great idea myth, execute like Jobs. Scrounge capital any way you can, a la Bezos. Never give in, like Disney. And dodge pitfalls. Felix's flops prove they're real. This section's a call to action. Stop dreaming, start doing. He's been there, penniless, terrified, victorious, and these chapters are his scars turned into lessons. Ready to climb? Let's keep moving. Part 3, Getting Rich. This is where Felix rolls out the heavy artillery. 7 chapters packed with the meat of how he turned hustle into hundreds of millions. It's not just about starting anymore. It's about building, winning, and stacking that cash. We'll explore each chapter with Felix's own wild stories, like launching Maxim and outsmarting rivals, plus examples from other titans who've climbed the wealth ladder. So, buckle up, because Felix is about to show us how to go from scrappy to stacked. We start with Chapter 9, Cardinal Virtues. Felix lays out the traits you need to get rich: confidence, stamina, a thick skin, and a touch of callousness. He's not shy about it. Being a bit of a shit helps. As a young dropout, Felix oozed confidence, enough to pitch his poster magazines to skeptical printers with no money down. Stamina? He'd work 16-hour days, then party till dawn, and do it again. Take his early 70s hustle, selling those 8-page foldouts worldwide, outlasting doubters who said they'd flop. Compare that to Jeff Bezos. Amazon's early days were a grind, sleeping on a desk, fueled by sheer belief and relentless energy. Felix says these virtues aren't optional, they're your armor. Without them, you're toast. Chapter 10, A Few Words About Luck, is Felix admitting the wild card. Luck helps, but only if you don't seek it, he quips. He got lucky when personal computing took off just as he launched his tech mags in the 80s, titles like PC Pro that raked in millions. But he was in the game, ready to catch it. Another stroke? When a rival's managing director went on vacation mid-deal, Felix pounced, snagging a magazine that became a $100 million goldmine. Think of Oprah Winfrey. Lucky breaks like landing her talk show came because she'd already clawed her way into TV, not because she sat waiting. Felix's take? You can't bank on luck, but you can position yourself to grab it when it swings by. Chapter 11, The Art of Negotiating, is Felix in his element. He's a shark here, and he loves it. His best example? That vacation blunder by his rival. The guy stalled talks to sell a hot magazine. Felix swooped in, negotiated hard, and owned it by the time the guy was back sipping pina coladas. Another gem, arm wrestling with Bill Ziff, a U.S. publishing legend, over a deal. Felix held firm, kept his cool, and walked away richer. Look at Sarah Blakely, selling Spanx door to door. She negotiated her way into Neiman Marcus by sheer grit, landing a game-changing order. Felix's rule? Empty your mind, know your bottom line, and pounce when they blink. It's predator stuff, and it works. Chapter 12, Ownership. Ownership. Ownership is Felix's golden gospel. Hold on to every percentage point you can, he preaches. He built his empire, Maxim the weak, tech titles, by keeping control, not diluting equity early. When Maxim launched in the US, rivals scoffed, but Felix owned it outright and reaped the rewards as it soared past them. Contrast that with early tech founders who sold out cheap. Think of the Wozniak-Jobs split, where Woz cashed out early while Jobs held tight and hit billions. Felix lost chunks to partners once and swore never again. Ownership's your leverage. Don't give it away unless the deal's a king's ransom. Chapter 13, The Joys of Delegation, flips the script. Once you're rolling, Felix says, hire smarter people and let them run the show. He did this with Maxim, brought in talent who outshone him in execution, multiplying his wealth while he sipped wine in Mustique. He admits he's no tech genius, yet his computing mags thrived because he delegated to experts. Think of Elon Musk. Tesla and SpaceX hum because he hires brilliant engineers, not because he's soldering rockets himself. Felix's twist? I employ a great many people smarter than I am, he says, and it's no humble brag, it's strategy. Delegate the grind. Keep the vision. Chapter 14, A Piece of the Pie, is about sharing, just not too much. Felix says give profits, not equity, to keep talent loyal. He'd sliced the annual pie at Dennis Publishing, rewarding staff who drove the week to become America's fastest-growing news mag. But ownership? That stayed his. Look at Starbucks. Howard Schultz gave baristas stock options, not control, and built a loyal army that grew the brand. Felix learned this the hard way. Early partners who got equity sometimes turn sour. Share the wealth, he says, but keep the keys to the kingdom. Chapter 15, The Power of Focus, rounds it out. Felix warns against distraction. Stick to your lane. When dot-com fever hit in the 90s, he ignored it, doubling down on publishing. Maxim and the Week soared while others chased fleeting trends and crashed. His Kung Fu mag flop. A focus fail, he spread too thin. Compare that to Netflix. Reed Hastings stayed laser-focused on streaming, not scattering into unrelated bets, and now it's a titan. Felix's mantra? Keep your eye on the ball marked, the money is here. Wander off, and you're done. So what's part 3 dishing out? It's Felix's playbook for turning a spark into a fortune. Virtues like confidence and stamina. Think Bezos's grind. Get you in the door. Luck, like Oprah's breaks, helps if you're swinging. Negotiating sharp, like Felix versus Ziff or Blakely's hustle, seals deals. Ownership's your crown. Jobs proved it. Delegation, a la Musk, scales you up. Sharing profits, not power, keeps the team humming. Schultz nailed it. And focus? Netflix shows Wandering's death. Felix's life, Maxim tech mags, outfoxing rivals, is the proof. These aren't theories, they're battle scars. He went from nothing to millions by living this. Ready to stack your own pile? Let's roll on. Part 4. Troubleshooting and Endgame. This is Felix at his most seasoned, part battle-hardened general, part wistful poet, showing us how to dodge the landmines, lock in the winds, and maybe even bow out gracefully. These 6 chapters, 16 through 20, plus a poetic kicker, are about fixing what breaks, keeping what you've earned, and knowing when to duck. We'll pull from Felix's roller coaster life, like his TV flops and wine-soaked reflections, plus examples from other heavy hitters. Let's dive into the chaos and clarity of the endgame. We start with Chapter 16, Whoops. Felix opens with a grin and a grimace. Mistakes happen, and they'll test you. He's got scars to prove it. Take his TV venture, a glossy idea to turn his publishing chops into broadcast gold. He sank a fortune into it, ignored the red flags, and watched it bleed cash until he pulled the plug. An expensive lesson, he calls it, but he learned fast. Cut losses, move on. Another slip? Early on, he trusted a crooked accountant, E&F, who skimmed thousands until a deputy sniffed him out. Compare that to Howard Schultz at Starbucks. Overexpanded in the 2000s, nearly tanked the brand, then slashed stores and refocused to save it. Felix's rule? Screw-ups are inevitable. Own them, fix them, and don't look back. Chapter 17, A Recap for Idlers, is Felix's halftime pep talk. He's blunt. If you've skipped ahead, you lazy sod, here's the gist. Commit fully, focus like a laser, execute like your life depends on it. He ties it to his own rise. Launching Maxim when rivals laughed, sticking to publishing when dot-coms crashed. It's the backbone of his millions. Think of Steve Jobs, fired from Apple. He didn't idle. He built Pixar, then returned to make Apple a titan. Felix isn't reinventing the wheel here. He's hammering home the basics. No commitment, no riches, he says. It's a wake-up call for dreamers who won't sweat. Chapter 18, How to Stay Rich, shifts gears. Felix has the loot, $400 million to $900 million by 2006. So how does he keep it? His trick, give it away fast. He spent millions on wine, drugs, and whims. $100 million on wine and women, he boasts, but donating keeps him sharp. He's funding poets and forests now, not just hangovers. Why? Money attracts vultures, he warns, advisors, X's, taxmen. Giving it away thins the flock. Look at Warren Buffett. Pledging billions to the Gates Foundation didn't shrink his edge. It freed him to keep winning. Felix adds a twist. Staying rich means staying hungry. Blow it all, and you're back to square one, only older. Chapter 19, The 8 Secrets to Getting Rich, distills the magic. Felix lists them like commandments. Compulsion to be rich, execution over ideas, ownership at all costs, fearlessness, focus, delegation, luck, but don't count on it, and cutting loose the baggage. He lived them. Compulsion drove him from poverty to maxim. Execution made poster magazines a hit. Ownership kept his empire his. Fearlessness? He faced down rivals for that $100 million deal. Look at Elon Musk. Compulsion fuels SpaceX. Execution launched Tesla. Ownership keeps him in charge. Felix's secrets aren't new. They're proven. Follow these, he says, and you might just make it. Chapter 20, The Self-Inflicted Wounds, gets personal. Felix warns of traps you set yourself: greed, ego, paranoia. He nearly lost it all to excess. Cocaine binges, legal battles, a libel suit that cost him millions in the 70s over a satirical mag greed pushed him into that TV flop. Ego blinded him to ENFS theft. He contrasts this with J.K. Rowling. Post-**Harry Potter**. She dodged ego, gave away millions, and stayed grounded. Felix's fix? Hire a no-man to call you out, and listen. Wounds heal, he says, if you don't pick at them. It's raw advice from a man who's bled. Finally, remember to duck. A poem to close it out. Felix, the poet-predator, waxes lyrical. Go, 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 says the bird of prey. Start now, don't delay. It's his rally cry, laced with a warning: dodge the bullets life fires. He recalls ducking a rival's lawsuit that could have sunk the weak, bluffing his way through. Think of Jeff Bezos, ducking .com bust fallout to build Amazon into a beast. Felix's last line: time is streaming by, so duck, my friend, and grab the prize. It's urgent, poetic, pure Felix. So what's part for laying down? It's Felix's survival guide for the top. Whoops, teaches you to pivot fast. Schultz did, Felix didn't always. Recap, demands commitment. Jobs lived it. Stay rich, says give it away to keep it. Buffett's proof. 8 secrets are Musk-level wisdom. Self-inflicted wounds, warns of ego. Rowling dodged it. Felix wrestled it. And duck. It's Bezos-style agility in verse. This is Felix at his peak. Rich, flawed, reflective, handing you the map to hold the throne. He's blown millions, won more, and learned the hard way. Wealth's a game of troubleshooting and timing. Ready to play the endgame? Felix bets you are. In conclusion, this isn't a book for dreamers, it's for doers. Felix doesn't promise ease or joy, just a shot at the prize if you've got the guts to grab it. Go, 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 he shouts, like a general rallying troops. Will you? That's your call. As Felix puts it, the clock is ticking, and time is streaming by. So, gentle listener, what's your next move? I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and please remember to subscribe to receive notification of upcoming recordings. See you in next video.